If we take a look over the last 6 months for the top 20, we have one Brazilian cheekily squeaking into the top 8. KSCERATO has made some noise on the latest map of CSGO, and it seems a lot of other Brazilian teams enjoy playing this map against each other as well. Out of an already small selection, I've gone through Furia demos to point out a few neat things we can learn from Mr. CERATO that you can maybe try on your T side. If we were to take a look at his stats against the top 30 opponents, we would see a ratio of 2.5 opening kills to opening deaths, which is kinda insane and very respectable. I want to highlight, first of all, common utility that is used by KSCERATO early in the round, as he's one of the more aggressive players, so it's better off him using his utility than the others because he's likely going to go down first. These are the standard smokes you will find yourself using in your defaults as a team, as they are essential to cutting off information middle, which is where KSCERATO often finds his kills on the T side. He has 2 different lineups for top mid, both being shown now. It lands double doors or red or whatever the hell you're calling it, and prevents any sight towards Z or cave side. If you want to avoid the smoke, then you must commit to pushing out and either into doughnut or to the left cubby. But as we all know, doughnut can either get mollied or smoked, so in this scenario, you're often going to find yourself as a CT struggling to watch middle. Speaking of molotovs, we can find this one thrown by KSCERATO, which again is a very powerful piece of utility if you want to take mid for yourself as a T. Okay, that's enough utility. I can make a whole nother video on that if we're talking about this map, but we're only talking about KSCERATO today. So if we check out round 24 against Nip, we can see Device and Hampus attempt to hold mid this round. With this standard molly from Device, Device is hoping that he can just hold middle this round without any hassle. However, with this top mid smoke that we've already discussed that this time comes from Yuri, and the flashes followed up by Yuri and Gary, it enables Art and KSCERATO to fly out Z by smoking the Molotov. This gets KSCERATO an easy kill doughnut on Hampus, which then puts the A site at a big risk of being split from, which is exactly what goes down, with Vinny smoking off CT and mollying Ruin, as KSCERATO can then happily watch the flank for the rest of the round. This push that we just saw out of KSCERATO and Art is a very common thing out of KSCERATO, and you can see why. The A site is left at risk at a pretty difficult split to deal with, especially if you're just one man on the site, which is often the reality in this case. What really helps KSCERATO do this push middle are these flashes we saw right at the start of the round. Watching the timing of these flashes pop as KSCERATO reveals himself out of the smoke, it's impossible to be facing this area, so you must let them out in this case, or attempt to find other ways of using your own utility as a CT against them. You may think you want to rush cave as a CT to then flank the people pushing mid, but this is a big risk to a lurker outside of B. And if KSCERATO finds this kill, they are already out of danger into doughnut from the fast flank from cave. If you want to see a round where this push still works for KSCERATO but also fails in some aspect, let's take a look at round 14 against Heroic, where Art decides not to smoke the molly and falls to a nade and Molotov combination. KSCERATO finds the initial kill, but you can see that this push is already finding some counterplay to it, which does come from the higher level opponents Furia faces. They also don't just run this with KSCERATO with the Mac 10 by the way, because sometimes Art has it. Here in round 10, you can see that KSCERATO can also be the second man in this little strat where he supports Art in getting the 2 picks on Heroic too, so KSCERATO is not always the spearhead, but just more often than not. What's interesting here is that there is a much deeper smoke towards doughnut, which KSCERATO and Art also push with KSCERATO trading, again allowing for an easy A take and winning the round. So as you can see, if you're an aggressive person yourself, this push is a really simple one to do for yourself in middle and helps get that A pressure out if you're struggling to find it. KSCERATO is a really big fan of middle. It is where he can find a lot of his opening kills and even farm up some multi-kills. If we take a look at round 2, here we see a perfect example of what he tries to achieve by lurking up top middle. And he's able to achieve this so easily because of the utility used out of Furia, throwing those smokes that we've already discussed and the flashes along with it, just to get him out there and ready to push up top mid. As we can see, the doughnut smoke deep, Furia push up middle more or less dry, and we can see how KSCERATO likes to play around red really well, finding 4 kills top mid, playing these angles really well. He does have the benefit of not having to compete against much utility this round. However, on the second round, where they lost pistol, you have to pull out big multi-kills like this if you're going to win the next round. In round 10, we have another example of KSCERATO pushing up top mid, and this time he just finds 1. It's a much slower play this time, swinging out later in the round with a flash from T-spawn, and Art scoped up on top mid. Art clears out doughnut, and the both of them push towards CT, where KSCERATO finds the kill. And before I move away from mid entirely, I want to point out the way that he uses doughnut to peek into A to find some kills sometimes. If we check out this round here, you can see they've taken mid and they've got into doughnut free of charge. And before they can get onto the A site, we can see how KSCERATO uses doughnut and the right eye peek to get these 2 kills. I want to highlight this because, just as a general tip, you should be peeking people if possible with an object on your left. Doing so, you'll expose the least amount of your model to the opponent that you're in a gunfight with. And as a result, we can see KSCERATO knows about this and plays around doughnut and the smokes really well, finding 2 picks, one against an AWP and against a rifle. So it's just another highlight of how KSCERATO is already comfortable on this map and doing well and excelling. And it's not only mid that KSCERATO likes to pressure either. There are multiple instances where he wants to test his luck on A. In round 6 against Entropic, we can see how a default setup is thrown with cave smoked off and top middle smoked as well.
What the fuck was that?
And KSCERATO, without worrying about any of those smokes, will just run out A, not stopping. Although not entirely successful this round, this doesn't stop him from trying it in other games. Here, we see against Heroic, KSCERATO will do the exact same thing, but end up with a much better result. With top mid and doughnut smoke for mid, KSCERATO just rushes out A with flashes, making his way into ruin without even killing anyone yet. Before the rest of Furia are out, he's already wrapping CT. He's very aware of how to abuse these timings on A and finds a kill as a result. This is the expected kind of aggression you would see out of Furia, and a terrifying take of A to deal with if you're a player like Shush. What we can also see in this round is that CT lane gets mollied off while KSCERATO's ruin. If Cadian respects the smoke and Molotov that are in this lane, he's in prime position to get picked off by KSCERATO on the ruin flank, but as we see, this doesn't happen in the end. There's a lot more ways to find yourself pushing up middle and A on Ancient, but these are the ones where KSCERATO will often find success. If you want me to discuss more, comment down below if you want me to talk about Furia or other teams on Ancient, or Furia on other maps. A lot of Brazilian teams seem to be playing Ancient a lot in between them as well, keeping up with Europe and developing this map into their pool, so the future looks bright for Ancient. If you like this video, be sure to check out my one on Config, who's just as aggressive as KSCERATO as well, but over on Nuke. In the meantime, there's plenty more videos on my channel for you to check out. And I'll see you in the next one, Future Pros.